Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of the Y3K Pod. This is take 2. Y'all won't see take 1, but just know we had some technical difficulties that we had to get through. As you can see right now, it's just me, okay, and Shad here. Um, Junior knows where he's at. He knows why he's not joining. He knows why he's not here. We're just gonna leave that at that. Shad, how was your weekend, bro? How was your week, man?
It was pretty good, man. Can't complain. We got a dub, so very happy.
All right. We'll get to the United game later, but I think first things first, the biggest game of the weekend was City Arsenal. I'll start since I'm the resident City fan, and I'll talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah,
I feel like we already had take one, but I'm gonna talk a bit about something a little bit different. I feel like if you're not a City or Arsenal fan, that game must have been very boring and very hard for you to watch
for sure, for
because
sure.
it was definitely a game where it was like stagnant. There was no real pressure from either one of the sides. There were a couple moments that maybe a team could have gotten a goal here, a team could have gotten a goal there, but it felt like two teams that were playing for a draw and not two teams that didn't want to lose, right?
Yeah,
And me, I'm not a reactionary fan. Everybody knows this. No matter what my team does or how poorly my team does, I have faith that my team's going to figure it out eventually, right? I'm not results based. I'm more performance over the course of the season. If you perform well over 38 games, your performance at the end of the season, it will show in the points tally, right?
yeah,
I believe that points with bad performance will eventually lead to bad performance and no points, or performance and no points will eventually lead to a good performance and points. But in this game, I think City did fine. I think Arsenal did fine. I think it was just average. Every player on the pitch was just average. Like there was nobody did anything dazzling, anything exciting. And like I said, one player that I always looked for when it comes to these games is Foden, since KDB isn't here. I want Foden to take care of the game. I want Foden to grab the game and show that it's his time, it's his turn, it's his game. But he just doesn't seem to be able to do that as often as I want him to and as often as we need him to.
yeah,
And in games like this, where people might say, "Oh, Rodri this, Rodri that," but defensively, I thought we were pretty well defensively and ball retention wise. I thought we did pretty fine with Kovacic, Bernardo, and what's it called, Rico Lewis. I thought we were perfectly fine. I didn't think we were really missing anything on the ball retention side. I think, yeah. What else was I gonna say? I think as we start to play more and more, and we don't have KDB, we're going to need to have wingers, and we're going to need to have a fullback option that creates more than what our fullbacks are creating now, right? Because right now, last year with KDB in it, we had so much creation that we could afford to have a back four and not have that much creation. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
right now, I feel like what we're suffering from is a lack of creativity. We're not getting enough chances. We're not creating enough chances. And it's only up until when you see Doku come in the game, that's when you see us go a bit more direct, a bit more like high tempo. I feel like Pep is trying to figure out something new, like he always does, right? Every season, like I said, there's always a lull in the City team. There's always at some point in the season, there's always some point where we always drop points. It happens. It's not we're never going to be perfect. We're always going to drop points, and that's because Pep is trying to figure out something. And I think right now in this season, without KDB, he's trying to figure out something. And me personally, most of the time, I can see what he's trying to do before he did it. Last season, before we went to the full back four, he tried Rico Lewis in the DM. He tried Rico Lewis at right back, left back. He tried Stones there. You could see what he was doing before he fully implemented it. This season, I can't see what he's trying to do. I feel like it's more of a maybe Alvarez, a direct player playing in behind that Holland role. But at some point, he's gonna figure it out because I have faith in him, and I think after the international break, he's going to have some form of a plan formulated to get us through this part of the season. Like I said, every player on the pitch was just average today, so nothing you can really do about that. What were your thoughts on the game?
yeah. I thought the game was pretty average. Going into the game, I predicted 2-2. I thought it was going to be a little action packed, but that's not what played out. Like it was very compact. And last week when we was talking, I said watching the Wolves game versus City, you know, when they went through the middle, it was too easy because Rodri wasn't there. But it seemed like it was a focal point that Pep focused on today because Arsenal really didn't do nothing through. Both teams couldn't get nothing through the middle. So I think this would have been a good game for Doku. You know, something from the wings that could have broken the game. And I think if Arsenal had Saka, I think Saka not being there, Pep realized, okay, there's not that much threat coming from the side. So he really compacted the middle. It was a very boring game. And it was just one great moment, and it came for Arsenal. Lucky, you can say that, but sometimes you have to make your own luck. Shot the ball. Like you said, if Ake was in a good position and self-aware, he probably has that ball somewhere. But that's how the game goes. Sometimes, it goes your way, it doesn't. But yeah, from a neutral point of view, the game was very boring. Arsenal City, I thought it would be action-packed, but, it really wasn't. But I think City would be fine, Arsenal, do I think they could win the league? I think it's a good step. Go win. You break that 14-game win streak, but it's too early. Like I know the fans are going crazy. We win the league, but you don't win the league in October. That's not when you win the league. So let's pump the brakes. But it was a good win for Arsenal.
Yeah, like you said with the Doku point, I was very disappointed to not see Doku because I felt that as though a weak point in Arsenal is definitely Zinchenko at that left back. He's not a very sound defender. So I thought it was a game in which like you could play Doku or even just anybody on that wing and let them have a consistent run at him throughout the course of time. You know what I mean? Even if it was Bernardo out there on that wing, let Bernardo have a consistent run at Zinchenko. That's what I thought. I was very disappointed to not see that happen, but it is what it is. And yeah, Arsenal fans that are, we won the league, we won the league. We all saw what happened last year, right? Like we all saw what happened last year, and that's why I'm not worried at this stage of the league right now. I've seen it before. I've seen teams get hot. But speaking of hot teams, I think the next match that I want to talk about is probably, let's say, Liverpool versus Brighton.
Okay.
Did you watch this game?
I watched this game, yeah.
I watched bits and pieces of it. You can go first on this one. Let me know your thoughts about this one and what you think happened.
So watching this game, Brighton, if you're not playing against Brighton, they're a very fun team to watch. Like, how they build up from the back, how the midfielders show for the ball, they're really fun to watch. So watching this game, they started off really great. I'm thinking, it's about to be one of those games. Brighton has Liverpool, they playing really well. And I got to say something about Brighton's recruitment. I don't know where they get these players from. They have this one midfielder. I can't remember his name, but bro.
Oh, I know who you're talking
about. It was like
Caicedo
all over again. So I'm like, wow, you got to give them credit for that. So yeah, they started the game well. Liverpool mistake. I think Adinkra got the ball and then scored. But Liverpool found a way to get back in the game like always do. Mo Salah, that guy again, always in the right place scoring. So, going into the game, I probably would have given the edge to Liverpool, but I think a draw was a fair result. Watching both teams find a way to score, I think it was a fair result 2-2.
I think the player you're talking about is Baleba. That's what.
Yeah.
He looked amazing. Him and Adingra looked amazing. I think this was a game in which you could see both teams sort of played the same way in a sense. They both are very high pressing and they take a lot of risks, right? But throughout the game, you could see like the one thing that I realized was one that people they criticized Klopp about was that he's not very tactically adept, right? He doesn't use different things. He's always the same thing. But in the first half, Liverpool were having trouble building out from the back, right?
Yeah.
And their first mistake came from Alisson passed it to what was it, Van Dijk? Then Van Dijk passed it to McAllister. McAllister was caught on the ball, lazy, and the ball, got away from him, right? But one thing I applaud Klopp from was that instead of him switching out from that or like doing something different, he trusts his players enough to know that that's going to be something that happens. That's going to happen when you play out from the back. And even Brighton's penalty that they gave up was off of some sort of like the same type of mistake, building out from the back, a bad pass, somebody was lazy on the ball, and that happens. And you could tell that the game they were fighting wishy-washy both ways. And I think like you said, before the game, I would have given the edge to Liverpool because I just feel like Liverpool, they're like the bigger team. And even though they're the bigger team, they've also been performing and they've been playing very well this season. So I just thought, and also along with Brighton's European, them being Europa League this year, right? Yeah, them being Europa League and all of that. Like, I know that takes a toll on them. I think they made like 7 changes or something like that. and I
They did.
think or Liverpool made 7 changes, something like that. But Liverpool have the deeper squad, so I expect Liverpool to be able to balance between Europa League and Champions League. But all in all, I only watched bits and pieces of the game, so I can't give like a full in-depth talk about what happened in the game. But I can definitely tell you that it was very interesting to watch and it was very entertaining for me to watch. Brighton, I've always been since Graham Potter was there. They've always been my second prem team, my second favorite prem team to watch. I love watching them play. It's always very entertaining.
Yeah.
And also when they play us, they don't really do much. So like it's always good to watch them.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about Man United next?
Yeah, we could go to Man U.
All
We could go to Man U.
right. Man United versus Brentford, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Look, I'll start. The
okay.
game, it wasn't a great game. Look, United, the frustrating part about us this year when we play these small teams is they get one chance and that's it. It's like the whole game, it didn't look like Brentford was going. We could have played for 2 days. Brentford was never going to score, but it's just that one mistake, which we made. Casemiro again, giving the ball away. Boom. Onana, you should be saving that. Look, we've talked about Onana. Look, you can only give him a pass to some point. At some point, you got to start making saves, like especially saves that De Gea was making. These are saves that any world class goalkeeper should be making, you know. But we didn't create a lot of chances. But hey, somehow we got the win. Look, Scott McTominay, I know every Man United fan wants you out of the club, but just for yesterday, look, you was the hero. I give you credit where credit is due. You saved us because we needed this win. I think it would have been like United fans would probably be saying more Ten Hag out if we would have lost that game. Like we needed that win yesterday. Like we needed it bad. So being able to get that win maybe might be the turning point for our season. Players might look at it like, wow, if we can win this game, look, the crowd is behind it, the fans, they believe again. So it might be that turning point, but we'll see.
Okay. So you are happy with the result, right? Like obviously you
Of
want to
course,
be
it's a
happy
win.
with the result. Yeah. But performance wise, that's what I want to focus on because like I said, I'm very performance based. If you guys play like this for the rest of your games, you don't see you don't see yourself doing well, do you? Like that's what I want to ask, basically.
Listen, performance wise, that's why I started off saying we didn't play good, not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
did we play better than Brentford? Yes, we did. But you should be playing better at home. You should be playing better than Brentford. Like, it wasn't a good performance. We can't play like that against City. We can't play like that against any top 16. We know that, and that's why I'm happy we won. Obviously, you want the 3 points, but there's still a lot we need to improve on.
A
You
lot
know,
to work on.
too
Yeah.
many too many sideway passes, nothing really being created. The
Mm-hmm.
wing play, Rashford and Bruno, and I touched on this last week that our two best players need to step up for us, and right now they're not. They like
Mm-hmm.
Rashford. You have spurts, he looked dangerous, and then moments he don't even look engaged. And Bruno is trying these passes that it's like, yo, you don't need to be trying those. Like, you can have a simpler pass, but you're trying to make all these passes, and I get it. Sometimes you force so hard, you try to make stuff happen, but
Yeah.
right now it's just not working for them. But performance wise, it hasn't been good. And hopefully this international break can help. And when we come back, hopefully they start playing good, man. Hopefully.
A little refresh for your team and for your players.
Yeah.
My next question is probably the tactical side of you guys' game yesterday. I saw a lot of long balls. I saw a lot of just like it felt like Ten Hag was just telling them boot it up and pray for the best. And in this specific game, I think I can't blame him for that because your center backs and like your left back was Lindelof, Johnny Evans, and Maguire.
McGuire, yeah.
And I know there were a bunch of times in the game where like you guys were building out from the back, and then what was it? Onana passed it to Johnny Evans, and Johnny Evans literally looked at him like,
Why are you
"Why are you
passing it to
passing
me?
to me the
Why are you
ball?"
passing it
Yeah.
to me?
So like I can't blame Ten Hag for just telling him, you know what, boot it up. Let's hope Hoyland can get a second touch and can get a good touch. But at some point, like these guys need to start. He needs to start implementing his philosophy, right? Because everybody knows I'm Ten Hag out at this point. I'm not even a Man United fan, and I've been Ten Hag out since like the season started, and I won't stop saying it until the other man like actual Man United fans join in and see what I'm seeing. I'm Ten Hag out. These results aren't gonna fool me from the fact that you guys are playing so poorly that it's not even like fathomable how poor you're playing right now. And just in terms of like the long balls and the booting the ball up forward, what did you think about that? Did you think that was the right decision, or did you think that maybe it should be a bit moderated? Because it seemed like every time you guys get the ball, your first instinct. I don't know when you receive the ball, your first thought is first pass should be forward if you can be right. But it seemed like your first thought was he told you guys your first thought just boot the ball up and let's see what we can do. What did you think about that, and what did you like feel was going on about that?
I think we did more of that because of the players that we have available. And I asked you this last week: if you was a coach and you have Martinez that you can pass the ball to, you can play that style of play, and he's not there, you have Maguire, are you going to do the same thing? And you said no, because that's not Maguire's style of play. Nothing against Maguire. He had a great game. He didn't make no mistake. He even assisted on the second goal. But I understand that because, like you said, we tried passing him more. Now I tried passing it to Johnny Evans, and it almost caused another mistake, but luckily he was fouled. So I'm like, okay, it will make sense why you don't want to put your defenders in that situation if they really not comfortable getting the ball. So I understand the long ball tactics. So I'm not really surprised. That's not the style of play that I want to see. But with the players we have available, at some point, that's what it's going to have to resort to. And I think this might sound crazy, but I think that was the best tactics against this team, because that 5 back, we could have played for 2 days and we might not have scored because it was nothing that was happening. And if you guys how the goals came, it was what? The long ball, maybe Bruno getting in there. So in this game, it worked, but going forward, no. When we get our players back, I don't want to see that style of play. Like, we're not Burnley or these old Stoke City like back in the days.
Everton, yeah. Just
We
boot
don't
it up and
we don't want that. We want a nice style, and you know it's all going to happen when players get back from injury and time. So that's why I was saying we need this win so Ten Hag can have that time for players to come back. Because if you look, the owners might support you, but if you start losing games at some point, the pressure's going to get too much, and it might have to just turn on you. So that's what I got to say about that tactics.
Well, my thoughts on the Man United game, I only watched the first half. Like I told you, after the first half, I switched on to the Chelsea game to watch majority of the Chelsea game. But I think I had the same thoughts as you. The performance by Man United, I thought was poor. I didn't think you guys played like really, really bad, but I did think against Brentford, you didn't create enough. You just didn't take hold of the game enough, especially since according to the fact that you guys were at home. You know what I mean? I feel like being home against these small teams is a very big advantage because you have those fans behind you. You have the crowd and you have everybody there around you, right? Yeah. And one thing we did talk about was the fans. I made a comment saying that I didn't think the Man United fans were doing enough to get behind their team, which I thought that was just like a me thing because I just thought when I was watching the game, there were moments in that first half that I thought if the fans just edged them on a little bit more, maybe Brentford makes a mistake and you guys get a goal in here, maybe you guys get a goal in there. But that was just my personal thought. But according to the players-wise, performance-wise, I thought everybody played mid-tier. Oh, I do have a question for you. On Garnacho. Because I see a lot of Man United fans calling for him to start because he makes things happen. He's a playmaker. He's this, he's that. What are your thoughts on like whether he should start, should be a super sub, maybe he should be a winger a starter in the future, but not now? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so you know how when you was starting your game analysis on the City game, you said you're not a reactionary fan, and I think a lot of Man United fans are starting to be like that. And look, Garnacho started 2 games, started the season against Wolves and against Tottenham. And I remember United fans saying, oh, he's not ready. He's a 19-year-old, he should be coming off the bench. But now people are crying for him to start. I'm like, yo, don't forget that in the start of the season, you guys, when he did start, you was, insulting the kids saying, oh, no, you're not ready. This, that. So I get it's a tough situation for Ten Hag as a manager. Garnacho, we both know when he comes off the bench, that's when a lot of the stuff happens. So would I want to see Rashford drop? If I'm Ten Hag, I think I still play Rashford, but maybe take him off a little early like he did last game. He took him off in the 60th minute, gave Garnacho about 30, 5 minutes to work
Mhm.
with, I think that's what you should do, because if you start him and it doesn't work again, now it's the square one. The fans are going to turn on the play again, and I don't like that. So I will stick with, if I'm there, I'll stick with Rashford again, because we need him to get in. That's the player that I still think he's our most dangerous player. Bruno's our best player, but I still think Rashford's our most
I
dangerous player,
think
and we need to get him in for him. So that's what I think.
Yeah, no. By all means, I think Rashford is your most dangerous player, and I think Rashford is your most vital player. Like I think I said that in the last episode. However,
Yeah,
Rashford goes is however your team goes. Bruno may be your best player. He may be the one doing all the playmaking, but if Rashford's not on it on his day, your team is kind of like null void. It doesn't matter. In terms of
yeah,
Garnacho, I think not players, I think fans, especially Man United fans, tend to overhype certain players. And then, like you said, they're very reactionary when it comes to players.
yeah,
Because I remember before the season started, them saying the same exact thing they're saying now, saying, start Garnacho, start Garnacho. He needs to be starting. And then he started and he didn't look that well against, what's it called? Those two
Wolves and
teams, right?
Tottenham.
Yeah. One thing I will say is it's a lot easier when you're coming on the 60th and 70th minute and the back that you're facing is already
It's
tired.
tired. Yeah,
He's had to deal with Rashford running up and down the whole entire game. He's had to deal with Bruno coming on his side, with Hoyland coming on his side, with Dalot overlapping, with when healthy Shaw overlapping. You have to deal with all of those things, and now you're in. It's a lot easier for you to be able to take on that tired right back, that tired left back, right?
yeah,
I think Garnacho is much better coming off the bench because he provides a spark, right? And
yeah.
when he comes in those games, he's allowed to be a bit more free because most of the time you're either up or
Or
you need a
chasing.
goal, right? So
Yeah,
he's allowed to do basically he's allowed to lose a ball. He's allowed to dribble. He's allowed to take chances. He's allowed to do all these things that maybe if he starts in the game, you're not really allowed to do that from the first minute because you need to take control of the game. You need to pick your
yeah,
moments. But once you come in, you can be as direct as you want and you'll be completely fine because there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was thinking about. That's the Man United. Hey man, we'll see. We'll
No, I
see.
think
I
you made a
think
great point. You made a great point about you coming into the game. You're allowed to take chances, but when Rashford starts, it's like he can't make no mistake. Everything has to be 100%, and that's what we saw with Garnacho when he started those two games. It was the same thing that he's doing when he comes on, but it's just it's the start of the game. The left back or right back has full energy, and they can match him speed for speed. So it's like, oh,
exactly.
maybe he's not as good as it's not that he's not that good. He is that good. You just gotta, it's not the time yet. It's not ready for him to start games yet. You gotta like slowly work him into that starting play.
And that's what makes the best wingers the best. They pick and choose which moments that they're gonna attack that fullback. They don't
Yeah,
always attack that fullback. They don't always go to the outside. They don't always go to the inside. They pick and choose which moments. Speaking of wingers and best of the best, the next game up is Spurs versus Luton. Um, I watched this game. It was the
I,
first game on this weekend.
watch a little bit. I don't. Yeah, I watch a
I
little bit of
watched
it.
it because I put Son in my FPL team and I captained him because I was like, Son, striker, Luton, that's got to be a hat trick guaranteed. And in about like, I don't know, maybe close to halftime, not too far away from halftime, Basuma gets a second yellow and is sent off. And the challenge in which he got the second yellow, if I'm not mistaken, didn't make any sense for him to make that challenge, right?
Yeah,
Oh, speaking
yeah.
of challenge, we might have to go back to the City Arsenal game
The
after
city
this
game.
real quick.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But he got a challenge and it got him sent off. And from that moment on, I'll say like this: Luton are in big. They're not staying up this year
no,
because against 10 men, Tottenham, they failed to create a really good chance. They failed to create a chance in which like was a clear-cut goal. They failed to really even create like a half a chance against a 10-men Tottenham side. And Tottenham went on to go score when they had 10 men, right? And they didn't, and like it just looked as though even though Luton had the advantage,
mm,
they could have, bro. They could have played for like they could still be playing today, and I don't think Luton would have scored, right?
yeah,
And Ange took Son and Madison off in like I want to say like the 60th, maybe 70th minute, somewhere around there, and brought in like Emerson and another midfielder. So he in his head he was like, okay, all we're doing right now is defending. We're just gonna hold on to this, and we're gonna when they got out there with they got out of there with the result. But I wasn't really watching Spurs. I was really watching Luton, and I'm very concerned about how I don't think their plan is to stay up in the Prem this season, which by all means makes sense because they don't have the squad to do it. But when I watched this game, I was just mesmerized by the fact that even against 10 men, like they're down a man and you still can't create enough chances to you can't create any chance to even get a goal. It's just mind blowing to me. But yeah, that was just my thoughts on that game. I just want to talk about because that was the first game that I watched this weekend. But speaking of challenges, I can't believe we didn't even bring this up when we were talking.
About the
The
city.
Kovacic card situation. I'm gonna let you give your thoughts on it first, and then I'll give my thoughts on it afterwards.
Okay, so I thought Kovacic was very lucky to stay on the field. The first yellow was definitely a yellow. I didn't think it was a red. It was a yellow. It was high, but it wasn't that vicious enough to be a red card. But then he turns around and do the exact same thing. So I'm like, what are you doing? Like he was very lucky to stay on the field. I think the ref helped him there. He's probably thinking, okay, let me give this guy a warning. You don't want to be too strict in a way, but some refs might have just given him the second yellow. And to be honest, I thought Pep was going to take him off at halftime. I was surprised to even see him back on at halftime. So, he was very lucky to stay on the field. First one was a yellow. Second one, if he didn't have the first yellow, I think that's another yellow card. But having gotten the first yellow, the ref, probably just saved him there. But yeah, I thought he was very lucky to stay on the field.
I'm not gonna lie. That first one was a yellow, no doubt. I didn't question it at all. I was like, yeah, it's a yellow. When they pulled up the VAR checking for a red, I was like, y'all dragging it a little bit. It's definitely a yellow, but I don't see that as a red card. The second one, that one literally blew my mind because I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, why?
Why would you
like what was the point in you? Because I get it, you want to get the ball, but you have in that situation, Arsenal was basically trapped. Even if he got the ball out to the outside, there was another City defender next to. I think at that point it would have been who's Ben White.
Yeah,
there was a City defender like in front of Ben White, so they were basically trapped. All they would have to do was just boot the ball upfield. So there's no need for you to make that slide tackle. And then once he made it, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's got to be a second yellow. But then the referee waved it off, and I was like, hey, we're gonna keep it pushing. But I think the first one would have been a harsh red to give. And in games like this, if you give that red card, if you send a player off, you change the whole game. Yeah. You change unless it's something, and especially after what happened with Liverpool Tottenham, I feel like refs from now up until maybe like Christmas or something are going to be very, very like cautious on their decisions, and they're going to be very like they're going to really think about whether or not like it's just really deserved of the player getting sent off. Like you said, I feel like if he didn't get that first yellow, that second one is a yellow because they look basically they look basically identical. So it was like if you gave a yellow for the first one, you kind of have to give a yellow for the second one. But I'm not complaining that he didn't. And yeah, I mean,
I'm glad in a way that Arsenal won because if Arsenal didn't win and this game was a draw, that would have been the talking point of the, after the game that, why was Kovacic still on the field? But we're not really hearing about that because, Arsenal ended up getting the winner. So
they don't really care about that.
At least the refs are happy because that wasn't a big talking point this week.
Yeah. That would have been the biggest talking point. But to me personally, I don't think, like I said, I don't think Kovacic being in the game really changed much after that point.
Yeah.
Because he didn't really do much. And I think he got taken off anyways in like the 60th minute when Nunes came in. I was very surprised that he came back out in the second half because I thought Pep was going to, if that was me, bro, I probably would have taken him out like right after that challenge too, just because you're not showing me that you're aware of the situation that you specifically are in that specific moment.
Yeah. So I got a question about Haaland though before we go on to the next game. As a City fan, what are you seeing? Are you concerned about anything, or are you used to Haaland going games that he just doesn't get enough touches, doesn't get enough chances? How do you feel about that?
My only concern with Haaland is not even a concern about him. It's about everybody else. Because one thing we know about Haaland is if you get him the ball in the box, he's going to score, right? I think last season they said it was 1 out of every 3 shots he took was a goal. So that means 33% of the time he shot the ball, he scored. And let's just say 33% of the time you get him the ball in the box, he's going to score. The problem right now is we're not getting him the ball in the box, right? And we're not getting him in the ball in the positions that we know he should be getting the ball. So when it comes to Haaland, I'm not really like, it's not like I'm not questioning his finishing ability. It will be different if we're getting him the chances and he's just missing. That's completely different. Then I'd be a bit worried. But he's not even getting the opportunity or the chances to put us to put the goals in the net. He's not getting those chances. So I can't blame him for it. I'm just looking at everybody else and I'm saying, okay, there's something that's not right here, and we need to figure out what it is, and we need to fix it. And like I said, with that guy, that bald man on our touchline with his sweater and whatnot, he's gonna figure it out. So it's only a matter of time. The one thing that I will say about Haaland that I would love to see him improve a little bit, maybe his dribbling.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit. That should be able to sometimes turn and run at defenders. As a defender, that would scare me a lot. Seeing Haaland get the ball and turn and start running at me, or maybe turn and lay off a pass. I haven't seen that. I didn't see that as much as I would have liked this year, this game. One thing about this game, since we're sort of talking about it again, is last year a tactic that worked was just booting it up to Haaland and playing it down to KDB and him holding up the ball. We didn't do that much this season, which I was very in this game, which I was very disappointed in because I think that would have been something that would have worked. But in terms of Haaland, I'm not really worried about him.
Yeah, I think a game like this, you really miss KDB because I think it was one point in the game, it might have been Kyle Walker that had the ball, and Haaland made those runs that he usually make to like the far post, and the ball just didn't go. And I'm like, if that's KDB in that situation, he's putting it in there. Like, you know, Haaland is getting a chance. He's going to have chance to make something happen. So, yeah, this whole season, you haven't really there hasn't been a game that you like, oh, we missed KDB today. But if there was a game that you needed him, it would have been today.
It would have been this game. Yeah. Speaking of strikers, there's another striker, your striker from Man United, Højlund.
Yeah.
He hasn't, to me, he hasn't found it yet in the Prem. But when I watch him in Champions League, I'm like, this kid's got it. Like, if there's anybody else that Ten Hag didn't hit on, I think he hit on Højlund. Because when I watch him play, he looks like a proper striker. He has the pace, he has the power, and he has a cool head. He has the finishing. Well, what are your thoughts on him?
Listen, all my Man United fans know when I saw him come on against Arsenal just for 15 minutes, I was like, yeah, that's the guy right there, the striker. The Rasmus Haaland, that's the guy right there, bro. Look, like you said, he has everything. And the one thing I was maybe not sure about was his dribbling. But then against Galatasaray, I'm like, oh, okay. He got something there. He could get the ball. He could turn. You know, that second goal against Galatasaray, I was like, wow. Got the ball from half line, just boom. And the Prem is not happening because he's feeding off scratch. Like, there's nothing. We're not creating enough for him. But even the game yesterday, he didn't score, but his hold-up play, everything else is there. Like, the will is there. Like, why I like him more than Martial is Martial, sometimes he's just not in the game. Like, he don't want to play. But Rasmus, you could tell, like, even if it's not there, he's going to keep fighting. I think that's something that the fans love. Even when he presses, you can see the fans like, okay, we got something on our hands. Look, the future is bright, so like, I'm happy we got him.
Yeah, he's somebody that I think Ten Hag hit on. He may have not hit on his other signings, but I think Højlund's going to be the striker for the future. I think that's it, man. That's all we got for today. Unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, I mean, I give a shout out to Chelsea because you know they think I'd be hating, but I give them a shout out.
Oh yeah, Chelsea. Did you watch the Chelsea game? It was on the same time as
it was the Murray game, but I was surprised. Look, I had it. I was keeping up with the score. I'm like, okay, it's 1-0 Chelsea, and we was losing, so I'm praying like, oh, they better lose. And I seen it's like 3-1. I'm like, how Chelsea scoring more than 2 goals a game? But hey, shout out to them. You know, they did their thing. So
they played well. I think, me personally, I think I like Broja starting for them more than I like Jackson.
Okay.
That's just me personally. In the games that Broja's played, maybe Broja hasn't played the same quality of what's it called
Jackson.
of talent of players or I mean teams. But
Yeah.
when Broja plays, he instills more confidence in me than Jackson does. I feel like if Broja gets that chance in the box, he's gonna put it away. Jackson, I've seen him miss sitters. I've seen him just I don't know. He doesn't instill confidence in me as a striker. But I didn't watch the full game, like I said. I watched some of the second half, but I wasn't really paying attention because at that point, I think they had already run away with the game. So I was just like watching it just to like see what was going on. What was it? And the Man United game was on too, and you guys were losing. And I love to see Man United lose.
Yeah,
So
I wish y'all was here. So
I turned the Man United game off in like, and I do this with like majority of games too. I turned it off in like the 90th minute. And I'm like, damn, they lost. I'm getting ready to post my little Man United clips. All of a sudden, McTominay scores like the 93rd minute and the 97th minute. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, bro. Man United, of course, finds some way to squeeze some points out of the game. But yeah, man. Chelsea fans not here, so we're not going to talk about the Chelsea game.
Yeah, I wish he was, though, because I had some questions about Raheem Sterling because starting of the season, they wanted this guy out, but every time I watch Chelsea, it seems
this
like
season he's their
best attacker. Mm-hmm. So I wish y'all was here so he can answer because a lot of Chelsea fans wanted him out, but I'm like, he's really one of y'all best attackers if we're not lying.
Yeah, I think Cole Palmer looked good. He scored his first EPL game goal that game, but he looked really good in the parts of the game that I watched him in. Their team looked good overall, but again, they played Burnley, so kind of have to take it with a little pinch of salt, a grain of salt. They're not like the most top tier opposition. But yeah, they looked good, but they got to play hard opposition for me to fully believe in them.
Yeah,
like I said.
But hey, one more shout out to my boy Kudus. We got his first Premier League goal today. Very happy for the kid. I hope he starts, but it's hard for David Moyes. I understand because Paqueta is really good and he's playing the same position that he wants to play. Mm-hmm. But hey, shout out to Kudus, man. Hopefully more to come.
Because that was a conversation that we had, like all of us in the group chat, and I said that Kudus wouldn't be starting over Paqueta because in my eyes they play the same position, and then on top of that, I don't think Kudus is going to be doing the defensive work and the backtracking that Paqueta does. And so in that sense, it just doesn't fit in the David Moyes scheme. But he can prove me wrong. I'm rooting for him, obviously. He's a Ghanaian, like we all are. So obviously we're all rooting for him, and I want him to be able to start. I want him to be able to get those opportunities. But if he's gonna start, I feel like he might start as striker.
Yeah. That's
their strike. Antonio is stinky, bro. He's stinky. So like, if he's gonna start, I feel like that's where he would start, or that's where he should start, or that's where he could start. But that's not really David Moyes' MO. He doesn't really.
You could tell. You could tell because any other team probably, any other low tier team, you probably do start. But like you said, I think you might have to give him a run as striker because
you gotta give him a run. If he keeps playing like this, you're gonna give him a run somewhere.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Wing something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Shout outs to Isaku. Leicester. Yeah. Leicester won their game. I think he scored or something like that. I saw him posting about it. Leicester, I don't watch the game, but shout outs to him. International break is coming up.
Oh yeah.
I think Ghana's playing the US.
We play Mexico on Saturday.
I'll play Mexico on Saturday. Yeah. All right. So tune into those games. Maybe we'll have a video out on an international break and what we think about Ghana's future. That might be a bit longer than this video. That might go on for a long time. Yeah. But until next time, we love y'all.
Yeah.
Peace, love, and blessings.